Everything is beautiful in its own way. Everybody is beautiful in their own way. Comedy and music legend Ray Stevens has spanned multi-generations with 60 years of fabulous music, including his Grammy Award-winning classics, Everything is Beautiful and Misty, as well as his comedic hits like the multi-million selling records, The Streak and Gitarzan. And through it all, he gives the Lord glory. This is his story. This is today's Nashville. This is Faith. Ray Stevens, I cannot believe I am sitting at your piano at the Cabaret. You know, my husband and I at Christmas time came to your show and we had so much fun. Everybody was having a great time. The gentleman next to us, I mean, he was laughing so hard. I was afraid, his face was so red. I thought, oh, I hope he doesn't pass out. Thank you so much for inviting me here.
Thank you for being here. And this red piano has become kind of symbolic of this showroom.
So, did you design this?
Yeah, I had it built, and the guts are just a regular electric piano, Kurzweil, I think, and it just sits in this slot that was built when I built the piano, and it has worked pretty well.
Well, Ray, you have been in entertainment for over 60 years.
Yeah.
Take me back to where it all started. When did you know that music was going to be your life?
I think I was about 17 when I knew that it was going to happen. I kind of felt like it would a lot earlier than that, but you know, when I was 6 years old, my mother insisted that I take piano lessons. And I didn't want to. I wanted to go out and play baseball with the rest of the guys in the neighborhood, but she insisted that I practice 1 hour a day, so I did. And I'm glad she insisted on that, because pretty soon I started kind of understanding how the keyboard worked. And so I continued my piano lessons, started when I was 6, and I continued for 15 years with those piano lessons, classical music. It's worked out pretty good.
Did you learn to love the piano?
Oh yeah, sure.
So, where were you born?
A little mill village, cotton mill village, Clarkdale, Georgia. Back in those days, there was the Clark Thread Company, and they had mills all over the southeast. Our mill, I think, was a spinning mill. They made thread. And my dad worked at the mill. And so everybody in the little village had a house that was supplied by the mill. All the houses sort of looked the same. They were all white clapboard with slate roofs, and they were nice little houses. A lot of kids in the neighborhood, and we used to play ball, and, you know, they had a swimming pool in that little mill village, and learned to swim when I was 6 years old. And it was a lot of fun.
So you mentioned you were about 17 when you knew that music was going to be your career.
Yeah.
What happened then?
Well, you know, I moved from Clarkdale when I was 10 years old down to Albany, Georgia. There was another mill down there, and my dad was transferred. So we moved to Albany, Georgia. I continued piano lessons down there, and I met a guy named Bill Lowry, who just started a music publishing company. Went to a little Baptist church down the street from my house in Atlanta, and my Sunday school teacher, I must have got up in church and played the piano and sang or something, I don't know. He came to me in Sunday school and said, "You need to meet Bill Lowry." And I said, "Who's Bill Lowry?" And he said, "He started a music publishing company and he's looking for songs. You do write songs?" And I said, "Well, I do now." So I met Bill Lowry. I went to see him the next day, and he said, "Well, write me a song." And so I was pumped up. I went home and wrote a song that night. And I took it to him the next day, and he liked it. And he was connected. He knew people in the music business, in the record business. He knew a producer in California who produced records for Capitol Records named Ken Nelson. And Ken came to Nashville quite often to record country singers in the Nashville studios. He sent my song to Ken Nelson, and he liked it, and he said, well, why don't we sign him to Capitol Records, and I'll come to Nashville and we'll produce a record. And so I was all for that, of course. I'm 17 years old, I'm still in high school. So we came up to Nashville, and I mean, Atlanta was a bigger city, but didn't have any studios to speak of, like Nashville did. And so we came up, and I made my first record in 1957. And
what was the song?
it was called Silver Bracelet. It was about teenage jewelry. Back in those days, they had what they called identification bracelets. And on one side, you put the girl's name, and on the other backside, you put your name. And the guys would give them to their girls, girlfriends. I wrote a song about that, and it wasn't a hit, but it got me hooked. I knew right there that I wanted to be in the music business. And so I continued to write for Mr. Lowry, and in 1960 I wrote a song that was the first song, and I recorded it, and it was the first song that ever did anything at all for my career. It was taken off, it was going to be a hit. It was called Sergeant Preston of the Yukon. And it was a novelty song, comedy song about Sergeant Preston of the Yukon and his dog King. The record was going to be a hit. It was taken off, and in my exuberance, I had neglected to get permission from the people that owned the character, Sergeant Preston, to use him in a song. And so their lawyers sent a letter, cease and desist. And so we had to pull the record off the market, but it gave me a clue. I knew what to do. And so in '61, I wrote and recorded a song called Jeremiah Peabody's Polyunsaturated, Quick Dissolving, Fast Acting, Pleasant Tasting Green and Purple Pills. And that was a small hit. I think it went to 35 on the national chart, though. And I was pretty happy with that. But in 1962, I wrote a song and recorded it that became my first big hit record. It's now considered to be politically incorrect, but I always sing it on the show anyway. And I like to point out that during Desert Storm, when the U.S. tanks were chasing Saddam across the desert, the radio intercom and all those tanks was playing this song, Ahab the Arab. I recorded Ahab the Arab in Nashville 20 days after I moved to Nashville in January 2nd, 1962.
So how old were you then?
I was 22, January 2nd, 1962. I wasn't quite 22. My birthday is January 24th, so I had a few days to go. But I had moved up here from Atlanta to play piano on sessions. I wanted to be a session musician. And I met all of great Nashville session musicians that are pictured on the murals here in the showroom. I was very lucky to have moved up at that time because they were all very welcoming and very nice, and I played on a lot of sessions. And of course, when Ahab was a hit after I'd just moved up here, it was a hit the summer of '62, I had to leave the session scene and kind of go on the road and, milk the personal appearances from the hit record. So, but anyway, it all worked out pretty good.
Well, Ray, we're going to talk about some of your hits. And I heard that Taylor Swift has been stalking you, and we're going to talk about that when we come back.